we have a pope. Now, here's the thing. We don't know yet who it is, but the minute that we do, I'll tell you. But the thing that I've been scratching my head about for some time, and this kind of goes back to, actually, I first really became aware of this back in the late 90s. I think it was 98, 99, might have been 2000, whatever the year was. It was right around there, when I was invited to Rome, to Italy, to meet Pope John Paul II, and which was, just an extraordinary thing. I've talked about it on the air and in the past, and no need to rehash it at length here. But Louise and I spent the day. We got a guided tour of the Vatican by one of the Pope's staff, and then we were driven up to Castle Gandolfo, which is where Pope Emeritus Benedict is hanging out today. It's this palace mansion, surrounded by a what do you call it? Castle wall, I guess. On the edge of a giant lake that used to be a volcanic crater up in about an hour and a half, 2 hours north, as I recall, the drive of Rome. And, that's where we met Pope John Paul II. And I was very impressed by John Paul II. Watching his career, you meet somebody like that, and it leaves an impression, and you start paying attention to who they are and what they say and what they do. And I continue to think of him as, just a genuinely extraordinary man. The question, though, that struck me when I was there was, why is the Catholic Church a country? The easy answer is that the Catholic Church is the remnant of the ancient Roman Empire. The Roman Empire never went away. It simply changed its name in the arguably 300s to 600s after the Second Council of Constantinople in, 333, I think? Whatever the year. I'm not that timeline, I can give you American history timelines off the top of my head. That one I'd have to look up. But in any case, as the Roman Empire was disintegrating, the Roman Catholic Church stepped into that space to the point that until the most recent Italian Revolution, I think it was either the late 19th or early 20th century, the Vatican, the Roman Catholic Church, actually controlled and ran much, if not most, of Europe. I mean, they were a military force. They had an army, they had a navy, they conducted crusades. Now, that was back in the 12th century, 13th century, 14th century. So the easy answer to why the Catholic Church is a nation is that they're arguably one of the oldest nations on earth. I mean, right up there with China, as like in terms of continuous, this is our place, this is our land, these are our, or Russia, or, England. Well, actually, England had been conquered by the Romans, So who goes back to ancient Rome? The Greeks, not continuously. So that's one answer. But when the Italians overthrew the Catholic Church and basically isolated the Catholic Church into Vatican City and said, okay, you can have Vatican City as a country, but nothing else, and you can't have an army anymore. That was part of the deal. The Catholic Church continued to be a country, and they are recognized by the UN. In fact, they're on the UN's, or I don't know that they are this year, but they certainly were at the time that we went to Rome a decade ago. They were on the UN's Council or Commission on Women's Issues worldwide, and on the UN's Commission on Birth Control, which struck me at the time as odd because it was, at the time that we were there, all of the legal citizens of the Vatican, and there were, I think, fewer than 1,000, as I recall, were men. So now that may have changed. It may be that they've allowed nuns, women, to become citizens of Rome. I don't know. But their having state status, I think, frankly, is not necessarily the best thing for a church. And I'm curious your thoughts on this, particularly if you're Catholic or you're well informed on this issue. I had a long conversation about this, several long conversations about this with Brother Wayne Teasdale. This was the year after I had met the Pope. I was invited to meet the Dalai Lama, and Brother Wayne had helped put that together. He was a very good friend of the Dalai Lama's. Wayne died just a couple of years ago. And I wrote a blurb for his book, The Mystic Heart. He was a brilliant man. He was an instructor at the Catholic the Chicago Theologic Seminary. It was the seminary in Chicago where they teach priests how to become priests. Wayne was one of these guys. 6 months out of the year he did that. And 6 months out of the year, he was a follower of Father Bede, who was a Catholic priest who started an order in India where they literally, they're penniless. I mean, it's sort of like what St. Teresa did with the Carmelite order back in the 15th century. For which she was persecuted. She wanted the church to basically take a vow of poverty, and she did with the Carmelites. And St. John of the Cross was supportive of her efforts, and for that he was thrown into a closet and beaten so badly his ribs and shoulders were broken. He was deformed for the rest of his life. And so the is it? It is an. It is not. Okay, we don't yet know who the new pope is. So in any case, Wayne and I used to, we spent a week together in Castle Gandolfo, and we also both used to teach seminars at Omega Institute in New York State, and we'd hang out when we were doing that. Wayne was just a wonderful man, and he gave me so many insights into the brilliant, absolutely brilliant, progressive tradition and mystical tradition of the Catholic Church, or of many parts of the Catholic Church. And I don't want to speak for Wayne. I can't do that. He's not around anymore. And I don't know that he's ever addressed this in public. But this issue of the Church being a state, being a nation. And so its senior officials have diplomatic passports. Oh, interesting. Cardinal Bergoglio of Argentina. And he has taken the name of Pope Francisco. Okay, so we have a new pope. We'll have the details on him after the break as we gather some information. In fact, Jim, if you can drop in the fund drive for in a minute. Well, in any case, so getting diplomatic immunity, being able to hide people from prosecution by other states, having a seat in the United Nations. The Methodists don't have this. The Lutherans don't have this. You could argue that the Church of England does in a way, in that they install the Queen, but the Church of England really doesn't have a seat. The Episcopal Church does not have a seat in the United Nations. Is it time for the Roman Catholic Church to say, we're a church. We're not an empire anymore? Interesting question. I just, that's the one that's been rolling around in my mind all these years. Among others. And I say that with the very best intentions and hopes for the church.